30, we're going to open up the ordinance committee meeting. The first item we have on the ordinance committee is an ordinance amending chapter 114-56B, expanded driveway permits. And
I'll wait one here for Kathy.
Actually, 1 and 2 go hand in hand.
yeah, they do. Let's just talk about 1 and 2 both. Number 2 is about driveway or curb cuts. So
Really, the only suggested change, and I'll let Brad speak to it, is that right now, Public Works is responsible for issuing those permits, and this would change it to the engineering department. But I think Brad may want to talk about the fee. Right now, it's $10.
well, yeah, it makes sense though to have a substantial permit for that. But I had a question about, Brad, about the, is this not new about allowing them to park in a grassy strip?
No, that's in the current ordinance. All we're proposing is move it from Public Works to engineering.
Public Work, engineering used to be part of Public Works.
Yeah,
When we
I know.
separated them out, we didn't adjust the
Yeah,
ordinance.
Yeah.
I just did,
Code enforcement, really.
I guess I slept, I forgot about us allowing the grassy strip, but it has to be on the opposite side of the entrance to the residence, and it's a 9 by 19 foot area, right?
I know the 9 by 19's right. I'm not sure. I think it's away from the center,
You can
the
park
front door.
parallel with your driveway.
Parallel and adjacent to your
long-
driveway, opposite side from the front door.
Opposite side of the entrance to the house.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
That's not changing.
yeah,
It's just changing who issues the permits and does the inspections. That's all that, the way it's drafted, both of these would change. That's the only change.
and,
But the fee right now for the expanded driveway permit is $10, and I think Brad may want to address
Yeah,
that fee.
I think we increased fees on some other permits a year or two ago. $10 won't cover the inspection cost, so we'd like to bump the inspection fees to $50. I think that's the rate that's on other inspections. And this won't need an emergency clause because we'll need the time.
You know about how many of these we average do?
I think there were 30 of them this year, so it's not a lot of them, but they're a little bit labor intense, and so we've got folks who do this for commercial large scales are already in the field, and we thought it'd be easier for them to do it, and they're
well, you can buy and look at it.
yeah, they're also more familiar with the planning regulations, and they work with the building department anyway.
But this first one, though, is only for residential, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Which one lays out the fee?
The first one, it's
First
in
one.
paragraph 2. It says the expanded parking permit shall cost $10 upon application. The other ordinance dealing with the curb cut has a $500 deposit that's refundable.
Okay.
Can we go ahead and address both of them together?
Well, we're discussing them together, we need to pass them separately though.
I mean, they're essentially doing the same thing, aren't they?
Well, not quite, but close.
Well, I mean, all they're doing is really changing it to
From-
the engineering.
Yeah, to the engineering department, that's true.
Unless you want to raise the fee for
Unless you
the,
want to address the fee.
for the expanded parking permit. $10 to $50, I think, was what engineering was requesting.
What's the committee's pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we move it forward to council with approval.
With the increase in the fee as well?
Yes.
That's taking the fee from $10 to $50. I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, then our second ordinance is ordinance amending section 110-86 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency for other purposes. And just like Ernest said, we're just changing from Public Works to engineering.
Move this ordinance pass on with recommendation to pass.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. If there isn't anything else to come forward, the ordinance committee is adjourned.
Hey, thank you. Mike, Rick couldn't be here tonight, so if someone would like to take street and CIP, and Wyman can present this. Someone wants to take that.
I can
I'll-
do it.
Go ahead.
All right, we'll open street and CIP. We have one resolution. I'll go ahead and read it. It's a resolution authorizing execution of contract for improvements to 64th Street. Turn it to Wyman.
You've got the resolution while Wyman's coming. We had, I'll talk while he's coming. We had the bid opening, I think last Tuesday. And, isn't that right? Last Tuesday. Had one bidder. I was kind of sweating a little bit, but APAC was the bidder, and they came in, when you figure utilities and everything, they came in about almost $500,000 under the estimate, right?
Two of the utilities lowered their estimate of relocating, and then the contractor came in below our budget, so we're
Yeah.
about 500,000 below what we had estimated the project to cost.
I think the bid was probably about 300, or between 200,000 and 300,000 lower,
Right.
and then with the reduction in the utilities, then it's about $500,000, so.
So it's within what we thought, and it's a project for bond money, correct?
Right. Street bond, and it's about $500,000 less than our estimates.
I move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Okay,
We'll move it forward.
thank you.
Resolution authorizing the purchase of property located at 511 Old Water Road, Springville, Washington County, Arkansas. And is Chief here?
Yes, he is.
Here he is. We're ready, Chief.
He's running.
Just in time. Let me, before Chief starts, the suggested funding for this purchase, you're gonna, we'll discuss more, we can discuss more later when Colby talks, but the monies, this would be coming from the COVID, from the CARES Act funding, is what we're suggesting. Go ahead.
I apologize, I didn't know we were up, and I was over there just talking to someone. So as you're aware, for a good while, more than a couple of years, we've been trying to resolve our situation with our range. We're having a very difficult time getting on the range to qualify or do any practices or anything. We've been looking for an opportunity for an outdoor range, which would be optimal, and we've pretty much struck out. I mean, you have to drive too far to get anywhere that you're going to be able to put a range in. Steve Sturm approached us quite a while ago, probably a year ago, and offered to sell us his range. He said he wanted to retire. We kind of put him on the back burner. He came back to us recently and said that he's going to retire, and if we want to have an opportunity to purchase his range, we better do it, or he's going to move on without us. So I met with the mayor and Wyman. We discussed that, Colby. We did an appraisal on the range, and he's what I feel like he's offering us a really good price. We had it I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Who did the appraisal? So you had an outside appraiser?
Yes,
Okay, that's enough.
it's in the packet.
I think it was around 800, wasn't it? 845.
And he's willing to sell it for 6?
Yes. Reed and Associates did the appraisal.
Well, we know that's bogus, so, okay.
The appraisal came in at $845. He's offering to sell it to us for $6.
Based on the the need for this and the amount of time that you all have been searching, because I know I've searched for a couple of years, I'd like to move that this resolution be moved forward to the council for recommendation for approval, and I think they've already done what we usually ask to be done, that's to get an appraisal before we approve the purchase of anything, and this is something based on the setup, the fact it's been there, they do the proper lead abatement for the air quality, et cetera. I think this is something that could be in use for the city for a long time.
I appreciate that.
And is this to be covered by the payroll reimbursement?
Yes.
From the, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Great.
would like to let you know up front that it's going to take a little work on this. We don't have exact amounts, but I think it's still going to be a very good deal.
It's going to have to be at some point expanded to the south to accommodate Long Gun.
Yes, but on the front end of this, we have had it inspected by our building inspection, which they feel good about the structure, but we had the HVAC people come in and look at it, and the air handlers need to be replaced. We need
They're
to.
old.
Yeah, they're old, they're worn out. But the building and the property is well, obviously it's worth a lot more than what he's willing to sell it to us for.
Yeah, it's not too often you'd have a chance to purchase a firing range that's been there for a while already in town.
And it's close.
That
It's
is
handy.
close, yeah.
We don't have to drive 40 minutes. It's just 5 minutes down the road.
Right.
I don't know if he still does or not, but he did have a rifle range out the outside of it too.
It's not functional anymore.
It's not.
But there is plenty of room on the south side of it. This comes with quite a bit of land.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very familiar with it.
And where will the funds come for the improvements?
Well, we have some drug seizure money that we've been saving it for this project. I don't know that it will cover all of it, but it'll cover a substantial part of it, probably the majority of it.
With the exception of the expanded construction, you're really just going to be updating the mechanical items that are
Right.
outdated.
I'm sorry,
I said, with the exception of the expansion of construction, you're really just going to be updating the worn-out mechanical equipment.
that's correct.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Amelia, is that?
I'm going to open up health, sanitation, and property maintenance. We have a resolution and a discussion on our committee agenda. Our number 5, resolution approving and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an amendment, to an intermunicipal sewer agreement between the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the city of Lowell, Arkansas. Resolution presented by Rick Pulver.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that. I massacred that.
I have trouble
Springdale Water
myself.
Utility.
That's
I
obvious.
apologize.
Yes, ma'am. The Water and Sewer Commission was approached at the last commission meeting, which was, about 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Back in 2005, the city of Springdale and the city of Lowell entered into an agreement that essentially built a sewer or paid for a sewer along Puppy Creek to serve the city of Lowell. They were reaching capacity. They were put under a moratorium, and City of Springdale and City of Lowell worked together to produce a packet to help finance the construction of a sewer line to alleviate the problems up in Lowell. In that agreement, there were certain stipulations that were put in place. There's a ridge that runs through Lowell on the western side. Part of it falls into Puppy Creek, the other part falls into Cross Creek. Back in 2005, when this was being done, there were several subdivisions that were being promoted on the east side there to have that on-site disposal or step system you've heard so much about. And then in the agreement, due to the powers that be at the time in Lowell, they desired to serve the western regions with on-site systems. As you all know, those on-site systems don't work very well. Today we have with us Daniel Ellis with Crafton and Tull, as well as the mayor of Lowell. They approached the Water and Sewer Commission, like I said, about 3 weeks ago, to have this agreement amended to where they could still serve the western side. What the Water and Sewer Commission said at that time is you have a defined capacity. You have one bucket that you paid for. We don't care where you use it, but that's all you get. You can use it on the west side, you can use it on the east side, you can use it wherever you want, but this is all the capacity that you have. And at that time, this agreement puts into place certain provisions to where Lowell's going to have to divvy up some more money to help improve the capacity. Well, Lowell now is asking to use that capacity, but they would like to use it on the west side of that ridge. The commission, Water and Sewer Commission, agreed to that in concept. Charles Harwell, our attorney, put together an amendment. I sent that to Ernest, and I believe that's what you all have in your packet today. I do have the mayor here and Daniel Ellis if you have any questions.
So it keeps their capacity at where it is now. They're just using it in a different area. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. No more capacity.
Okay.
So what's
In
happening?
the event that, in the future, if that site is expanded, would it belong to Springdale?
All of the water and sewer that is up in Lowell in our service boundary belongs to Springdale, the water and sewer lines.
Okay, so really they're, since they're not increasing the capacity, it really doesn't have any overall effect on it other than the original agreement said they were going to service the east side. Now they want to use that on the west side, so that doesn't have any effect at all.
Correct. That's my understanding.
I'm curious about what happens to the east side.
Well, the east side is going to grow as it does, and when it reaches capacity, then we'll put a moratorium on Lowell for additional customers, just as has been done in the past.
Why was it originally for the east side instead of originally for the west side? I said, why was it originally made for the east side?
When this contract was put together, they were going to serve the east side with a different system, and it wouldn't go in Springdale's collection
I see.
system. As you know, with the acquisition of Bethel Heights and what people are doing with those on-site systems, they're seeing that they're really not viable, and that's why Lowell is coming before you today.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd like to move that this resolution be forwarded to the council for approval.
I'll second it.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving this forward to council for approval, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a discussion of a Safe Haven baby box. I believe Ms. Kelsey?
Yes. My name is Sheila Purcell, and I'm the director for the Northwest Arkansas Respect Life, but we've zoomed in Monica Kelsey, who is the founder and the CEO of the Safe Haven Baby Box, the national organization. Hey, Monica. Just so that you know, and y'all are probably aware of this, but just to put it on the same page, in 2001, Arkansas enacted a law called the Safe Haven Law, and that enables for the protection of newborn babies. If parents are unable or unwilling to parent their babies, they can safely, without any type of legal repercussion, deliver the baby to a hospital or medical facility or to a police station. In 2019, so that was back in 2001, about 20 years ago. In 2019, Senator Cecil Bledsoe and Representative Perry, they amended the law so that the babies can be delivered to fire stations, as well as the implementation of the Safe Haven baby box. What was happening was that babies were sometimes left at a police station, but the girls they didn't want to answer any questions, they wanted to be anonymous, and so the babies were left on the steps of a hospital or on the door of a police station. And the Safe Haven baby box, the purpose of it is twofold. One, to promote and to advertise, if you will, the Safe Haven law. A lot of police and hospitals aren't even aware of the law. So the Safe Haven baby box helps to promote the knowledge of the law, and then also provides a safe and anonymous vehicle that these infants can be placed in. These are babies that are newborn that parents can relinquish 30 days or younger. Parents aren't able to drop off teenagers or something. It's got to be just the newborn babies. There's one Safe Haven baby box in Arkansas. It's in Benton. And you may or may not know, just this past May, they had their first little baby. In fact, it was May 24th at 5:01 p.m. A little baby was dropped there. And then the Arkansas Department of Health and Human Services kind of takes over. That baby was adopted in like 4 days. There's so many people that want a newborn. But all this is to support women or parents in a difficult situation. We've heard the horror stories of babies in trash dumpsters and creeks and Walmart shopping carts, So this provides a safe and anonymous way to relinquish the babies with no legal action. So, Monica, there's how many boxes within the country? 20 some?
We just blessed our 51st
Oh,
box.
there are 51st box, and there's been 83 babies that have been saved, correct? Yes, nationwide. So we're hoping that Springdale will be the next placement for a Safe Haven baby box. There is a contract. The contract has been reviewed by Ernest Kate, and I believe all the questions and the resolutions, any questions have been resolved with that. Is that correct, Ernest?
Mhm.
Yeah, and those, I think the contract is in your packet. So, Monica, if you want to take any kind of details about this is a $10,000 box, of which we already have without asking for a dime. Constituents, donors have come up. We have all the money ready to go. This isn't going to cost the city any money. It's air controlled. It's got safety alarms to it. We're not talking about a cardboard box with a blanket in it or something. I mean, and this would be installed in one of the fire stations as Chief Irwin sees fit. So, is there any questions about that so far?
You said in Benton that you have a baby box there. What kind of marketing or promotion of it? You said you really wanted to get the word out for that. Here, if we do that, what have you done there to get the word out, and what would we need to do, or what would you be doing to get the word out here?
Okay.
You want me to take it?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I've got you have more to. We can tag team here. Go ahead.
Well, the biggest challenge that we have is the marketing of the box. I'm not going to try to side that at all. And we do school. We have a video that we're producing right now for e-learning for kids in the schools. We're finding that a lot of our moms are between the ages of 17 and 24. Well, those are high school kids and early college kids. And so we really push for the high schools to bring us in. We also have literature for the high schools and the colleges. And then we also do billboard campaigns. And those are actually, we see a huge uptick in the communities that we're in because we give our 800 number. And also our website. Well, our website has every box and there's an interactive map. So if you pull it up, you'll be able to see where Benton's box is and all of the boxes around the country. And so the box in Benton, went in, I believe, in October of last year, and we did a huge media push. We get a lot of calls from Little Rock, and it's because Little Rock has really taken hold of this and really promoted the safe haven law and the safe haven baby boxes. But the box in Benton did have a baby in June, and we have now learned that that baby was not from Benton. It came from a community outside that had heard that there was a box available in Benton. But it is the biggest challenge that we have of the marketing. But, we're out there every day. Our schools have the literature. We also try to get the teachers to talk about Safe Haven. That's one of the problems that's been around for the last 20 years is people haven't been talking about it. That's why, not very many people learn. And, I'll go into fire stations. I'm a firefighter medic, and I'll go into fire stations across this country and start talking about the Safe Haven law. And I've got firefighters looking at me going, what are you even talking about? And this has been around for 20 years, and I also want to kind of go back just so you understand that, we're a nonprofit, we're a 501c3, and the reason why we go with a contract, and I know my husband is the mayor of our city, so I know that it's kind of not the conventional way, but I want you guys to understand why we go to a contract with the box and why we charge the amount we do up front is because I don't want you guys doing anything with a box. As a firefighter in a small community, our fire station doesn't have any money. So if this box was to go down and I would have purchased it for our fire station and it went down, I would have had to raise money to repair it. The box program, by signing the contract, it's a lease and it's $200 a year, and I think the Northwest Indiana or Northwest Arkansas is gonna cover that, or the Knights of Columbus. But we do that so that this box is never down. So if this box ever goes down, we're gonna repair it within 48 to 72 hours. So that a mother, after we've done that push of marketing and said, hey, there's a box here in Springdale, and then 6 months later, she is, due to give birth any day, she's gonna know that that box is available and ready to use because it's never going to be down. And so that's why we do it. We don't want to rely on the fire departments that don't have money, the cities that don't have money to repair this. We want to make sure that this is available for every woman in the community once it's installed. And it's for a lifetime. This box, could save, many babies. We have 3 fire stations in Indiana that have already had 2 babies in their one box. And one of them wasn't even blessed until December of last year, and it's had 2 babies this year. So we're seeing a huge increase in babies saved and not babies being dumped. So it definitely is an advantage. And plus, just to kind of give you guys just a little bit of oversight or a little bit of inside information on why I started this, I was actually abandoned as an infant. My birth mom was 17 and gave birth to me and then abandoned me 2 hours later. And I've made it my mission now to make sure that every woman has this option available to them so that they can remain anonymous, which is what my birth mom wanted all those years ago.
Monica, something I remember from our initial meeting we had that really stood out to me, and I'd like for you to touch on it. I think it was either you or the chief in Benton that talked about, we know how many babies have been saved by these boxes, but what we don't know, those of us, we don't have one, but we don't know the babies who may have been given up or not survived because there was not a box, that we may never know. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. Even today, we find a baby every 3 days in this country. And this is with a safe haven law that's been around for 20 years. And, I'm from a small community. My husband's the mayor. I'm a huge, public figure here in our community. And you know, I've often said if a woman brings me a child, chances are I know her parents, and I probably know her brothers and sisters. Well, last February, now we became the home of Safe Haven Baby Box #1. It was really easy to talk my husband into allowing me to put it in our fire station since he was the mayor, but that's another story for another day. But I never thought that our box would ever be used. I simply put it there because I wanted it to be our home base. Well, February 22nd of last year, I had a mother at my fire station hand me a child. And do you think I knew who she was? Of course I did. And, you know, it's interesting because the box was at my fire station, but our hotline that is out there, and that's on the billboards and stuff and on the literature in the schools, our hotline coordinator was on the phone with this mom that wanted to utilize our box in Woodburn. And our hotline counselor said, I have paramedics on staff right now. Can you hand this child to a person? And she says, I'll hand the child to a person, but I am not answering any questions. And our counselor was like, that's fine. So then our counselor called me and said, Monica, you got a mom that's 5 minutes out. She's going to hand you a baby. She's going to turn around and walk away. And I said, all right, I'm ready. I about crapped myself because this is uncomfortable for even firefighters and medics to be handed a child that is kind of some would deem unwanted. And, but I knew this mother, I knew her from the community. And, you know, I thank her every day. We have this, you know, this look when we pass each other, that I'm just so proud of her for doing this. But I don't know that if the baby box wouldn't have been there and been the draw for her, because the baby box is going to draw them to you because of the anonymity, and our job is to get them to walk into the facility and hand the child to a person if we can. If not, and they place a baby in the box, that's fine because it's available that way. But at the point where I was handed this baby, I actually offered this mom medical care, and she said no and just turned around and walked away. But we did everything we could to make sure that she was okay and that the child was okay. But, you know, even with finding a baby every 3 days, I can assure you that there is probably babies that we are not finding across this country that are being thrown in trash cans and dumpsters. We just had twins in New York last week and a baby on the doorstep of a police officer's home in Tennessee on Thursday of last week. And this is happening all over. So I often say that it's better to have a box and not ever need it than to need a box and not have it, and you find a baby in a dumpster in your community.
Thanks.
In terms of advertising, when the baby box is placed in Springdale, hopefully sooner than later, one idea that I have is that the Northwest Arkansas Respect Life, we had our March for Life last year in Springdale. And I was hoping to possibly have our March for Life this next year in Springdale as well, and have our destination goal as the Safe Haven Baby Box. That would bring some advertisement to it. But, you know, that's the challenge for our crisis pregnancy centers too, getting the word out that this is available for you. It's free. It's a support service. But just with the billboards and the Facebook and the emails and the flyers in the churches and the laundromats, I mean, everywhere you can to get so in answer to your question, and even since it's in Springdale, possibly the Springdale website, you know, just anywhere that we can to get the message out, so.
Well, you brought up a good point. You know, I mean, crisis pregnancy centers, you go into a crisis pregnancy center and you have a positive pregnancy test. A lot of those women leave and no one ever sees them again. The crisis pregnancy center never sees them again, and you wonder, what are they doing? So the crisis pregnancy centers, the welfare lines, you know, the WIC places, all of these places need to have literature available for these moms if we're going to combat this issue. I had one person in a city say, well, we've only, you know, in the last 10 years, I think we've only had one abandonment. And I'm like, and that's one abandonment that could have been avoided. You know, so, but that's a good point that you made, Sheila.
Yeah.
So what is the process? Walk me through the process again. We have this box and somebody delivers a baby, then what's the process?
Did you
Well,
hear
the
that?
process, Sheila, you want me to go?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I did change the law last year in Arkansas with the help of Cecile Bledsoe. And if a woman walks into your fire station, Mayor, right now, today, and hands them a child, it is legal in your state. And what they do today is going to be the same thing that they do when they pull that baby from that box. Take that child to the closest emergency room and turn that child over to the Department of Child Services. And so that doesn't change. Whether you have a box or not, the fire station is still obligated to be a surrender site now.
So is the fire station,
Go ahead.
is that because it's manned 24/7? Is it, why a fire station? Because of the medics?
Well, all the fire stations in Arkansas are now safe haven locations if there is staff present. A baby box can only go at a staffed fire station.
So it can't go like at the hospital or something like that?
It can go to the hospital, yes. A baby box can be placed in a hospital or a fire station. The only problem with hospitals, and we do have boxes in hospitals, especially in communities that don't have a manned fire station. The problem with hospitals are they're so popular. There's people there all the time, and it's not giving women as much anonymity as a fire station is going to. And women trust firefighters. You know, I mean, that's just who, you know, if you're in trouble or you got a cat in a tree, who do you call? You know, you call the fire department. And so, so women trust the firefighters, plus it's a little bit more secluded and they're going to get the anonymity that they so want.
So my next question would be for the chief. Have we decided which department we put this in?
We have not yet, but obviously I think probably looking at our overall, where we are actually have fire stations, Station 1 is probably the most meaningful place to put it. So that's probably what we would recommend if the council chooses to do that.
And there would be have you thought through a location in the, I mean, they basically, Sheila, if I remember this right, they basically, it's installed in a wall, right?
Correct.
Okay.
On the outside, so that when she opens it up, when she places the baby in there, it automatically locks. The only way that you can get to it is from the inside of the station. But the way that the baby sets off, is it 2, 3 alarms? Is that right? With the weight of the baby sets off, is it 2 alarms, 3 alarms? One goes to the hospital. There's one that goes to the 911, correct?
No, none go to the hospital. So kind of like if you fall at your house and you have one of those life alert buttons around your neck, you just hit this button and EMS shows up because the call goes to the 911 dispatch. The box is designed exactly like that. So dispatch is going to get a call. They're going to dispatch the fire department. We can also put a blue light in the fire station so that they can retrieve the child before dispatch even gets the call. It's on a 60-second delay so mom can get out. When it does slide in, it kind of like cut a hole in the wall like you're putting a window in, and that box literally slides into that and it goes flush with the building. So it doesn't stick out on the outside or anything. The inside, you've got about 4 to 6 inches depending on how thick the wall is. And so you don't have a big hangover on the inside, but the outside door, when mom places baby in the box and she opens that outside door, the first 911 alarm is going to go off. It's a silent alarm to mom, but it's going to go to your 911 dispatch. When baby's placed inside, there's a second alarm that goes off. This alarm is not connected to the first alarm. So if the first alarm was to fail for whatever reason, the second alarm would pick it up. Once mom places that baby in that bassinet and shuts that door is going to lock. The only way for this baby to be retrieved is from the inside of the firehouse. And then there's also a power off alarm. So if this box ever loses power, and we can set it to, more than 2 minutes if you guys have a generator at that facility, but if this box ever loses power, the fire department is going to know so that they can lock the outside door on the box so that no one can use it. Because if it doesn't have power, it's worthless. Our average time for the babies being pulled from our boxes is right about 2 minutes. It's pretty quick.
I have in the packet, I don't know if you have this in your packet or not, but there's pictures of the boxes there too, so that you can get a clearer idea.
Yeah, there's some on this handout that you gave us.
Okay, all right.
These boxes are patented as well. I patented as the as the designer and the inventor, and then I sold the patent to Safe Haven for $1, so I could never profit off of it, because I never want people to think that I'm doing this for money. It's strictly because I want moms to have this option available to them. But it is patented, you can look it up.
So Chief, I just, knowing Station One, you know, would you put that like in one of your classrooms or something from the outside wall? I mean, it looks to me like that'd be a great place. I don't know, but.
I think there's a couple of locations that we've kind of thought about, but I would probably lean on the Safe Haven group to give us some ideas, because that, being anonymous is important, and I want to
Yes,
make
it
sure
is.
that we put that in the right place for them to do that, so.
I think you talked about, last time you were at council, other areas in our region that you've made contact with. Can you kind of update us on that?
Yes, Rogers right now is very close to having a Safe Haven box as well. And I know they're looking at Jonesboro. Benton has one, I think, and it's just those 4 locations in Arkansas, correct?
We've got some interest in Fort Smith, and you guys name your cities so weird. I can't remember the other cities, but Chanel actually works with the cities directly. I travel and train fire stations and help them, with the box program. But there are multiple locations, and then we also have 12 states that are working on legislation to allow the boxes in. Indiana, when we installed our boxes, our first box went in April of 16. Before that, we were averaging 2 dead babies in our state every year. We haven't had a dead baby in our state since before we launched, and we've had a record number of babies in our boxes. So a lot of people are taking notice to what Indiana has done and making it part of their next legislative session.
Yeah, Monica, just for the record, since we name our cities so funny, I'm reminded of French Lick, Indiana, so, yeah.
That sounds way cooler than that city really is, I gotta tell you.
So it says this is a discussion tonight. What do we, I mean.
Well, you've got a proposed contract, and I think it's just however you want to move forward. What kind of timeline, from the time, if the council moves forward and approves the contract, what kind of timeline are we probably looking at before it's actually installed and operational?
Well, we are gonna be making a trip out to Arkansas the week after Thanksgiving. And my goal is to bring the 3 baby boxes with me, as Rogers is very close, Jonesboro is very close, and then work with the fire departments to try and have them operational probably by the end of the year, maybe even in January. With COVID the way it was at the beginning of the year, we're coming up on 9 months of this pandemic. And our kids that weren't in school were doing something, and I think that's why we have had a record number of babies in our boxes in Indiana, and a record number of surrenders in multiple states. So I don't think waiting too long. I mean, if we're going to do it, we can do it pretty quickly, or we can do it however fast you guys want to go.
So do we need to make a motion to put the contract on the agenda for council, or?
You could, yeah, if you want to move it forward, if you could see if you could get a recommendation, or if they wanted to wait longer. I don't know. We've got 1, 2, 3 out, but I mean, y'all can certainly, it's whatever you all want to do. I mean, I support it, and I'd love to see it happen, but,
You feel okay with the contract, both of you?
Yeah, they
yeah.
made quite a few changes to the contract to accommodate our comments, and I appreciate that they did that. They provided, it's in your packet, they provided the sample signage that would be used. That's one of the requirements. Actually, the contract says that the signage is an expense outside of the $10,000, but they tell me that's actually included in the initial cost. So they've addressed everything that I've asked them to address that I had a concern with.
So basically, we do this, it's just standard business as we would continue do if somebody brought a baby to the fire station, we would just be doing the same thing?
Well-
This is just providing a safer avenue for the baby?
Well, but it does require the staff to be trained, it requires the alarms to be installed, it requires, the statute actually requires it to, I think, to be checked twice daily, visually checked twice daily to ensure the alarm system is in working order. It has to be tested at least one time per week to ensure the alarm system is in working order. You have to keep a log of when you do your inspections. I mean, there's all these things that'll be triggered once it's put into place. So, I mean, it's a little bit more than just,
Chief, are you okay with that?
My next question.
I am. I know when they first came, I had a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, but I think they've addressed all those. I do think it's an avenue for mothers to give up and surrender a child safely. They can do that now at the fire stations, but obviously most of us know they're not going to do that when they have to actually talk to an individual. So I think this gives them the avenue. I think we'll be okay to do this.
Well, I would absolutely hate for us to find them in dumpsters and stuff like that. So I'm going to make a motion to move this on to council with recommendation to pass.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one quick little story. At our first meeting, Chief Ford from Benton was part of that conference call, and his hesitancy was like, oh, we have to check this box. You know, this is one more thing my guys have to do. He says, but that day when we walked up there and we checked the box, if you could hear his southern charm there, he says, and we walked in there and I said, boys, there's a baby in there. And he said, and now my boys fight to see who gets to check that box. So anyways, it's a very, very welcome addition to their responsibilities, so.
One thing that I will mention too, that when we do our testing, I will be there to help the chief train his staff. It literally takes 3 minutes once a week to set off all the alarms. And then the 2 visual checks, we actually made it very simple for them. There's actually a green light that they'll look at. And all they have to do is look at the green light. The green light says that everything is working internally. If it's a red light, that means there's a problem with the box. And so we've made it very, very, as a firefighter that doesn't want to do anything, I'm just going to put this on myself. I know that we would be, we would rather be watching Dr. Phil or sitting with our feet up in the recliners, so I have made it as easy as possible for the firefighters to make sure that their job is not, drawn out with this.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to add this to the council agenda with a
Recommendation to pass.
recommendation for approval. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. And that closes health, sanitation, and property maintenance.
Thank you. Full council will hear it next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Okay? Thanks, Sheila.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Monica.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Jeff Watson is not here either, so if someone would like to take the Finance Committee, Colby will give you this long-awaited update.
I'll
That's
take it
easy.
to listen to the Pope and his dissertation. Oh, I had a question. For you, Pope, and, well, you go ahead and then you'll probably hit it, so.
Okay. You have in your Dropbox a copy of the CIP report. This one is a little different than the one page that you normally get. This has, it's a cumulative total, so you can click on the different tabs and see past months and how we've progressed until October 2020. You do have in your unreserved CIP balance $3,295,774. And I think that's probably as good a shape that I remember since I was on the council of unreserved CIP being towards the end of the year. So that's a healthy balance. You can see a list of the expenditures there that you approved if you'd like to. You also have in front of you the sales tax that was collected, the 1 penny. We were up 4.45% for October, $1,482,517. You can see the 2 months previous to that, we surpassed 1.5 million, which we had never done that in the history of the city before. So we're on pace. We're up over 8.5% for the year. In Springdale's 1 penny. Benton County and Washington County are both up over 7% as well. So we're doing really well with our sales tax, both city and county collections.
I have a question. This, on your funding option, when you say Public Facility Board contributions,
So the Public Facilities Board, when we, I believe,
Yeah, Kendrick,
the Kendrick Avenue that y'all approved spending part of our bond money on, I believe the Public Facilities Board is going to make a contribution to a future project of $2 million.
remember,
And I
as
believe-
they sell property.
As they sell property, but we had spent, I believe it was just under 2 million, if
Yeah.
I believe correctly. And so they're going to make a contribution
so
for,
this is a future projection. This isn't anything that we can count on till they make it, right?
well,
This is a-
they're working on Kendrick Avenue now, and they have interest in those lots, and as those lots sell,
I
they're
know,
going
but
to
my
make that.
point is, they haven't, really, this is a wish number and not anything that we brought in, and we really don't know when the contribution.
It will happen. We just don't know when it will happen. Depends
Well-
on land sale.
Well, and that,
Well, that's my point.
But it will happen.
Well, I understand, but that's at some point in the future. That's
so
not,
on the projects and funding sources, even the requests on here are not anything that we've agreed to make purchases. Those are all desires, and
Wish
the
list.
fundings are not all in the bank yet, but it's something that you can look at. These are not all to be decided for next Tuesday night for y'all to approve all these.
Yeah,
The reason we came up with this is there's been a lot of projects discussed, just like with the firing range. I believe it was 2 years ago where they came to a committee and said, we really need an option for a firing range. And there was very little discussion, but I knew that it was something that was going to be before the council. It just so happened to be now. So I wanted to put all the projects that have been discussed in a list so that y'all would have that in front of you, so there wouldn't be any surprises down the road. Same way with funding. There's potential, like there's buildings in Bethel Heights that we may want to sell, but I didn't put those on there because we haven't really gone down that road yet. These are just funding sources that we see as a strong option. So there will be other funding sources as well.
yeah, so that's why we have the 875 figure for the range, because that was our projection of what it could cost.
Well, the reason we came up with 875 is we knew that it was going to be about 600 for the purchase. And then the HVAC company that we've been discussing with options, we haven't got a solid number on all the renovations and all the things that have to happen.
So this
we
is
wanted-
their projections
Right.
added to the land sale.
Right. So what I've done is I've given a little bit of cushion on the funding. I've almost gone worst case scenario on those, and on the projects I've kind of bumped them up just a little bit so that we wouldn't be surprised.
Have we had an accounting to know that this projected number for January the 1st from Bethel Heights is accurate?
We had 2.9 million last month, and so what I did was I added in what I believe will come in sales tax revenue for that former Bethel Heights area, which would put it up about 3 million. But there was 2.9 million last month.
And
So-
how much, and what debt obligations do we have that we assumed with Bethel Heights?
There were some smaller ones that
Nothing of significance,
Nothing of
though.
significance, and the state requires us to hang on to those funds until the end of the year to
End
make
of
sure.
next year?
End of this year.
Oh, okay.
And so if there's anything, we can actually move those funds into ours in January, and that's when DF&A will begin to get correct tax.
Sales
from-
tax and-
Right.
Yeah, you'll see the sales tax start to get reported together then.
That's right. Now it's just going into that fund with the
Yeah.
2.9
What you're-
million.
Yeah, what you're seeing on this sheet is just, it doesn't include the former Bethel Heights.
That's right.
So will the books for former Bethel Heights have to be audited before we just wipe them out?
Well, we requested an audit going into the entire situation, a legislative audit, which was probably not desirable for them going into the election. But we wanted to make sure we knew what we were getting into financially. So we've requested the legislative audit. We received that. I don't know that we've requested anything on that level of an audit through the end of the year, though. But we did request a legislative audit.
Does Benton County provide the same rollback percentage that Washington County does?
To the cities,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure. I don't remember if they're the exact same.
But they do provide a rollback?
Yes, they do. They sure do. In fact, they get about $50,000 a month from
On their
Benton County.
rollback?
That's right.
Better than Sharp Stick and
Yeah.
I.
Colby, you may or may not know, but I heard something today that a lot of the money that has come to the state of Arkansas from the federal for COVID
Mhm.
is not spoken for yet.
So the cities and the counties in I believe it was June or July went to the CARES Act steering committee and requested $75 million for cities and $75 million for counties. That was allocated to the cities and counties. So it is true from a 30,000 foot view, there is going to be funds available, but not to cities. They've already decided, the steering committee said any funds available in the $75 million allotted to cities will go to convention centers and visitor bureaus of cities, but they will have to apply through us.
And we're going to check, we just had a discussion today, we're going to check to see if it can also go to city-owned ballparks.
Yeah. And in fact, today was the deadline to make your request as a city, and so I was, actually, the reason we found that out is I was following up to see if there was any extra money, because we had more payroll ready to go, and they had said that
We've already gotten the 2.9?
we did, we received it, it hit the bank last week.
In the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me mention too, there's a couple of these projects under the project list down toward the bottom that we still have some grant opportunities for those too.
Yes.
It won't be CARES Act money, but there are still some grant opportunities that may at least partially impact those to the good.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I wanted to put this together, there were some departments that had to make purchases that were COVID related, whether it was PPE or whether it was a temperature screener, like the one that you see when you come in to these meetings. Some were for hands-free dispensers and restrooms to re-outfit restrooms the proper way to reduce the spread. So what we did in the meantime until we could receive the funding is we basically said, if you have it in your account, go ahead and we'll try to get it refunded to you. So what we'd like to do is see the council go ahead and allocate a certain portion of the CARES Act funding, which you've already done that with the firing range of $600,000, but there are some others that we would like for the council to move forward on in the coming weeks to reimburse some of our departments. One of the ones that really has been hit is the senior center, and I've got this on here. When they shut down the senior center, it caused a lot of our seniors that would come and get a meal. They were shut in, didn't have a lot of options. Our Meals on Wheels expenses were not budgeted for. There was about $60,000 that they've been hit, and but it went to such a good cause for our city. So one of the things we were going to ask for in the CARES Act is a reimbursement of that $60,000 to kind of make the senior center whole. And in preparing all those meals, there was a need for kitchen equipment as well to handle that capacity and for old equipment that was wearing out. So you'll see on here the senior center kitchen equipment to expand capacity of $8,900. So those are the kind of things that we would like to have Laura put those to the correct accounts and get totals for you and bring those to you in resolutions to get your approval. And including the firing range, those items total $1.713 million, and the CARES Act funding was $2.896 million.
Every dollar we spend out of the COVID is a dollar we don't have to take out of CIP.
That's right.
Right.
And I know that we've always been in big support of the senior center. So.
Well, from the CARES Act money, you got over $1 million cushion there on if you just consider the the ones that you've got colored as CARES Act payroll reimbursement, those came to 1.7.
That's right.
So there's room for some of those other projects as well, or it can stay in CIP until you come up with projects.
I don't think we've been in this financial condition in a long time.
Y'all did approve I believe you approved for Brad to go ahead and move forward on building the outdoor maintenance facility, and that's one of the projects that we'd like to reimburse for that, because that was a project we were going to put to the CARES Act committee until we did payroll, so.
That's assuming he ever does any maintenance.
That'd
That
be a
is
good
listed here,
assumption.
too. Yeah. So it's part of that.
With the design of the new building, do we have all the PPE that we can foresee in the future for our new building? City Hall?
You mean as far as like mask or?
For temperatures, for anything, for disinfectant, for
Like,
anything possible?
can we move it from here to there? It's-
So, yeah, just like the scanner here, we could put that at the entrance of the new building. There was one discussion that we had about the air handlers, and I think we talked about a blue light solution, ultraviolet light that would help. That would be an additional request, but we're waiting on Milestone to get that to us. It's not going to be anything that throws this out of sync at all. So we would probably put that under the CARES Act projects. But yeah, all the other smaller things can come. A lot of these requests are for like the Parks and Rec Center. As people are coming in, they're getting scanned, is to update their restrooms to make things hands-free. One of the big requests on here is for workstations, which was a really big point that the CARES Act Steering Committee made, where if City Hall has to shut down, or if the state goes into shutdown mode again, the city employees can take these workstations home with them and work from home. They're still able to do their jobs even though they're not here on site. And the computers that we have here, it's been a long time, and since we've done what Mark calls a refresh, and so we were going to use some of the funding here in this projects to fund that as well. So this is just something for you to keep with you, just to remind you of projects we've discussed. What I'd like to do is, if I have your permission, is to bring forward some of the reimbursements to the next committee meeting to go ahead and start reimbursing our different departments.
You're talking about some of the things that you've already included in that
That's correct.
first line item.
That's correct.
Yeah. Just, you'd bring them back itemized.
That's right.
Yeah.
If that's the wishes of the council.
I would like to see that
Absolutely.
done before the first
Okay.
of the year, for sure.
That's what
let's
we'll do.
that.
Okay.
We're through.
Your committee, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're through. I don't want to hear more from him.
Thanks, Colby.